For today's Behind the Hoop Guts and All, I'm sharing this hoop with you. This is from Figo Fabrics. The collection is Wild West by Sara Meadows. So let's start with the guts of this one. This is one of the heavier hoops. There's a lot going on back here. You can see I have bits that were needle felted, so you can see the felt. I love when a hoop looks like this and you can just see all of the textures and the fiber behind it. You can see some of the sparkly threads that I used there. Somehow I have a bead stuck back here. That rarely happens, so that's a pretty cool one. So this is a piece of encrusted embroidery, which means that everything on the fabric has been embroidered. And this is not my fabric design, it's a printed fabric. And I try to keep the fabrics or the embroidery as close to the fabric design as possible. So this is pretty cool. The original fabric just looks like stacks of rocks, or maybe if you picture like you're looking at an aerial shot down at like a lot of little pebbles. What first attracted me to this one was the color palette. I absolutely loved it. I don't use a ton of gray, I don't think. Maybe I do. I don't know. In this hoop, I just really liked this rose color and the gray. So that's what made me want to work with this fabric in the first place. I also wanted to add a lot of dimension to this hoop. So I'm going to try and show this one to you from the side. Okay, so looking at it from the side, you can see there are some raised areas, lots of little fluffy bits throughout. I'll try not to make you dizzy by going too fast around the circle. These beads are really dimensional. Those are bugle beads with a seed bead added. You can see one of my favorite parts is how you can see the wispy fibers of the wool thread. That's one of the reasons I love using like a tapestry wool, so that you can get those like bits of fiber that stick up. You can see the needle felting that I did here. That's nice and fibery. This is fun looking at it from this angle. You can see all the wispy bits. That was a bit of ribbon that I added. Here's another piece that I stuffed, so like a trapunto effect. Lots of beads, lots of sequins. So let's look even closer at this. This hoop is made up of lots of layers. So you can see here, there is a layer of felt, a layer of tulle, and then on top of that are beads. So I really wanted the stacks of material to show through on this one. So I did that there. Here is, let's see, these are sequins with beads attached. This is a piece of twill tape that I cut in half so that it would get nice and frayed. And if you looked at the original piece of fabric, it was not just gray, it was like a color woven throughout. So I also tried to imitate that with this. This was a hand-dyed little bit of ribbon that I had. And then I clustered some of the larger size 6 seed beads there. I really had fun with the stacking of beads in this piece. So these are very large size. I think it was a size 32 seed bead with a size 6 and then a size 8 on the top. And then I filled it in with just the size 8 seed beads. Let's see. This one reminds me of like a spotted Dalmatian, which is kind of fun, that effect. This was a piece of ribbon, a wider piece of ribbon that I stitched over once it was on the fabric. I also was experimenting with textures, which is why I have the needle felting here. This is more of the twill tape. Oops, I'll try and show you from the side. You can see, if I hold it this way, you can see that it's really dimensional. Again, the wool fibers, this would have been a not a tapestry wool, a crewel wool that I would have used. So it's just a little bit thinner than the tapestry wool. Show you a comparison of the types of wool. So this is a DMC tapestry wool. Now I don't have the exact color that I used here. I do remember I used that up when I stitched it. So that's a tapestry wool. You can see how thick it is. And then this is a crewel wool. This is from Appleton's. This is from DMC. So this, let's see if I can find an end. Here we go. So side by side, you can see that the DMC tapestry wool, the gray, is thicker. Here, I'll move it here so you can see. Is thicker than the crewel wool. They both have lots of fibers when you stitch with them, which is, again, one of my favorite parts. To get this crewel wool a little bit thicker, I will sometimes double it up when I stitch. So I'll stitch like that, and then it makes it kind of the thickness of the tapestry wool. So I'll do that just because a lot of times my pieces are so heavy with beads and sequins and everything. I really want the threads to stand out. So that's when I'll double things up. To get this twill tape effect that I was telling you about, this is the sort of like, I don't think it's wool actually, it's just a twill, like a cotton sort of ribbon. This isn't the same color that I use, but it's the same type of ribbon that I use. So this is what it looks like just off of the spool. But what I did was cut it in half, and then you can see you already have an edge here. So when you just cut this down the middle, it turns into this, and it's nice and thin, and you've got all these little wispy bits here. And I just stitched it. You can stitch it right in the middle. You can open it up if you wanted to. You could add beads in here. So what I did was I just stitched it in the middle of the fold, and I added it around, and I just kept looping it around inside of that. And then for these bits, then I said I layered different effects with the beads and the sequins and everything. This is what I used for that. So this was just a novelty. I'm always looking at novelty ribbons and everything. This is just a little remnant that I found at Joann, a novelty piece. And I basically cut the shape. You could just cut the shape of it, and I put it on the fabric. I didn't even need to adhere it with anything because my stitches then just went over that. So it's a fun way to get a lot of metallic without needing to embroider with a metallic thread or a yarn or anything. You just get that nice metallic shine with a piece of this novelty ribbon. For these bits that I stuffed, you can see on the reverse, I've cut a small hole right here and right here. And that's where the stuffing went in. And it was stuffed between a layer of the fabric, and this is just a piece of like a velvet. I love the shine of the velvet. And then once I had that stuffed, I was able to then just go over and stitch my beads onto that. As far as would I do anything different to this hoop, I don't think I would. I come back to this hoop a lot. I love how it looks. I think I was able to combine a lot of different techniques to show that off. This is one that I like to take to my workshops to show in person. So yeah, I don't think I would do much different. I really like how this one turned out. So there's your up close and personal glimpse into the creative process behind my hoops. Enjoy and get those needles out and start stitching.